Hi, I'm Renee Laverrier. I'm teaching yoga for the Northwest Parkinson's Foundation. Welcome. We're going to work today on sort of overall body lengthening. And we're going to work on one of my favorite poses, the warrior poses, because we need to be strong in these days. We need to be strong with Parkinson's. We need to be strong in these days. We need the warrior poses. So we'll do work up to that. We're going to start out with some warm-ups and get ourselves moving a little bit, and we'll do some seated poses, and we'll stand. Anything I do standing can be done seated if you're not comfortable standing up. I mean, you know, wherever we are, you might have felt it yesterday, but today you might not feel comfortable. We all know that every day is different, so every hour is different. So just listen to what your body's saying, and I will walk through the seated version and the standing version. Even when we're standing, you can be seated. So let's go ahead and get into our seated mountain pose. So come up to walk yourself up to the edge of the chair. And you'll notice that as soon as you come forward out of that tinge or slump position, you feel your back lengthen. And there's you feel that little arch in the back. I'd show you on Hank here. This is the way your spine wants to be, with the little arch.
Sorry, Renee, could I just ask you to change the lighting? Could you just switch off so it's better lighting, just the light behind your head?
I can put another light on. I'm trying another light. But that's what our back wants to do in the smaller back when we're seated. You want to have that little curve there. Let me put Hank down and I'll fix the lighting. The light I can plug in here. It's a really gray day here, so I think the light's looking very yellow. Does that do anything?
Yes, it's a little bit better. Thank you.
Okay. So on the seat at the edge of our chair, and our knees are right out from our hips. So our feet are hip width apart, ankles are right below our knees. So we've got nice right angles at the ankles, at the knees, and at the hips. Notice if your knees are coming up above your hips, or maybe down lower than your hips. You want them to be just even or just lower. So if you need to put a cushion on the chair to raise yourself up because your legs are long, that's what I need to do. Or if you want to put a cushion under your feet, if your legs are sort of shorter than your chair, so you get that right angle. So we can use the cushions or a folded up mat to sort of put yourself under your seat or under your feet. So let's wiggle around there until we get ourselves even on those sit bones. And then sort of press down into them, but lift up out of your hips. So your nice long spine. Your hands are just resting on our thighs, and notice where your ribs are. Stack those right over your hips. And then see if you can separate them away from your hips. If your shoulders go up, let them drop away from your ears. You're just lifting up out of your hips, but letting those shoulders stay nice and relaxed too. And here, let your hands drop down to the side and just sort of reach your fingers down towards the floor. So you're pressing into your feet a little bit, pressing down into your sit bones, pressing down through the fingertips, and lifting up to the crown of the head. So you look like you're just sitting here, but this is very active lengthening pose. Let's just, from here, just take a nice deep breath in. See if you can take it through the nose, all the way down to the base of your lungs. And then let it all come out, nice and even exhale. The next inhale, we're going to sweep both arms up. And then bend your elbows and let your hands come down on wherever they happen to reach, and reach up through your elbows. And let that go. Let's let those arms come down in a big ah. Then let one hand come up again, just sweep it up. Just notice where it goes to. If there's any pain, stop where the pain is and go to where the pain isn't. We're just gonna see how they're feeling today. You're just gonna go up and try the other one. Now we're gonna go to the side. So drop your hand down and turn your right palm out, but not just at the wrist. You want the whole arm to turn out. So you can feel it actually in your shoulder. Your whole shoulder is moving in the socket. And on an inhale, sweep that hand up. And notice where it gets to. If it hesitates and does that, that grinding gear thing, let it come down and sweep it up. And notice if you're letting your whole arm do the work or if you're leaning over to get your arm up. So you want to see where we're just taking inventory, where our shoulder is, how our shoulder's moving and where we're at. So we're just going to see how that feels. You go ahead and try the other side. So you're going to turn that palm out so that your whole shoulder turns out and sweep that arm up and back down. Everyone looks great. One more time. And then let's go ahead and circle those shoulders. Big exaggerated circles up to your ears and down. And then let that go and do it the other way. So you squeeze your shoulder blades together and then you're going to come forward. Let's just let that go and notice where you feel that. You may feel some glowing in your shoulders, but at the same time, notice what's going on in your face. And notice if your eyebrows are stitched together or I tend to sort of grind my teeth a little when I get, really into something. So I have to notice that so I can let that go. And just want to notice what's going on in your face. And sometimes I'll even use a mirror or I'll do a little selfie and just notice what's going on, and then I'll try and work it later and take another selfie and just notice if I went from sort of, stiff and tense to softer. It's a great way to sort of track it, and face yoga is a really important part of our yoga. So I'm going to check in with our face every now and then. So you can just, if you're feeling it's tense, just wiggle around a little bit. Do some wide open mouth stretches. Wrap your lips around your teeth. You can do some expressions. We'll do happy and sad. Surprise, get those eyebrows up. And then frown. Let's end with just a smile because we need smiles these days. So let's go ahead and continue working on the lengthening of the spine. So let's just start out. So put your feet maybe mat width apart. We're just going to ragdoll our way down. So just go ahead and drop your chin and just roll down to wherever you get to is fine. You just kind of a ragdoll. And on an inhale, we're going to come back up. We're going to do that again. Maybe you want to aim towards your left big toe. And then come on up on an inhale. And then we'll aim towards the right big toe. And up on an inhale. This time we're gonna reach down. And this time when we come up, we're gonna sweep our arms up. Coming up on an inhale. And then we're gonna sweep them back down. And if you have a chair, you can see if you can grab onto the legs of the chair or maybe the rung of the chair and just use that as a little support to give yourself a little extra stretch. Keep your sit bones on your chair though. You're just gonna feel that lengthening in your back. And let that go and let's sweep those arms up on an inhale. And then let the right one come down onto the side of your chair. The seat of your chair, you'll reach the left one up, up, up. And then go ahead and sweep it overhead on an exhale. And one more round of breath here. And inhale that back up and let it come down. You sweep our hands up again and we're going to exhale as we roll down, fold down and grab hold of that back of that chair and the legs of the chair or the rung, and we're just going to let that lengthening happen in our back. You might feel a little in your hips as well. And then we're going to sweep our arms up again. And this time you're going to let the left one come down. Support yourself on the chair and reach as high as you can up to the ceiling and then overhead. And one more round of breath, and then we're going to inhale that up and back down. I'm feeling taller already. Let's bring our feet back to hip width apart. And we're going to do a little rocking of our knees side to side just to let our back, show our back is nice and loose. And let that go. We'll do a little more with the upper body before we get into our warrior pose. The warrior poses work the whole body. So we'll start with a couple of warm-ups for the upper body, and then we'll work our way down to the legs. So we're going to inhale and reach your arms out into a T. And notice if your shoulders went up to your ears, if they did, let them settle down. And just from here, I'm touching them all. Let your palms just turn up. And notice how that feels. It's subtle, but it makes a difference. Let your palms come back down. Inhale, reach, and exhale, give yourself a big hug. And then have a look over your right shoulder. In the center, and then over your left shoulder. And let your elbows come up a little bit. Just wherever it's comfortable, and back down. And let's go ahead and inhale. And notice which arm's on top. We're going to inhale again, reach out. And then exhale, let the other arm come on top. And have a look over one shoulder. And then the other shoulder. And then back to center, let those elbows come up a little bit. And back down, let that go and shake it out. So let's bring our fingertips to sort of like under our chin. And from here, you're going to bring your elbows down to meet each other. And then your palms can touch, and then we're going to sweep them back up again. So we like have wings, and then our wings are going down. We're going to inhale them up, and then exhale them back down. Now let's bring their elbows up, and we're going to open them up. Inhale as you open up, and then we're going to exhale and bring your forearms together from your elbows all the way up to your fingertips. And then inhale, get a big, so you're trying to reach your elbows behind you, big open chest. And then we're going to bring that back together. And so we're going to reach out, open up, let your arms open up. We're going to reach one elbow under the other one. So I'm going to reach my right elbow under my left. And then your hands you can turn your wrist and face your palms toward each other. And from here, you're just going to let your elbows come up a little bit and back down. You'll feel it in the sort of back of the shoulder. And you're going to try to go a little to one side and then the other side. Just loosening up those tight spots in the back of our shoulder. And I'm going to let that go. Reach out. And I'm going to exhale into the other. I'm going to bring my right arm above my left. So my left arm is underneath. And then have those palms face each other. And you're going up and down and side to side. And let that go and shake it out. Just let one arm swing. And try to change that arm to the other arm. And now we're going to do some figure eights, or like you're paddling a kayak. And the tricky part, go the other way. This one always gets me kind of confused. And let that go. How's everyone feeling? Hopefully, good. Hopefully the blood's going and we're getting warmed up and we're feeling a little taller, go ahead and take a block or a book or some kind of prop that just, basically it brings the floor up. That's why we use the block. So we put it between our feet. We're gonna sit nice and tall, and then we're gonna reach our arms out. We're gonna swan dive down to that block. So you really reach your heart out across to the wall opposite you, and then down towards the block. And you can use the block in the tall way, the medium way, or the flat way. You can double them up if you want, or if you touch the floor, that's fine. We just want to have our hands in contact with either the mat or the block. And from here, you want to just sort of have your fingers spread a little bit and press down into those finger pads. You're going to press your tailbone back into the chair. So you're sort of pressing away, and at the same time, so you're reaching your sit bones into the chair, but the crown of your head's reaching down towards the floor. So you're getting a nice lengthening in your back. And release that pressure, and go ahead and bring your arms, cross your heart. And then inhale, we're going to come on up. And we're going to open that up again. Big inhale. Exhale those arms back together. While we're here, just go ahead and push one hand into the other so your wrist gets nice. So you can separate your elbows and just push your palms into each other and get each wrist a little workout there. And let that go. We're going to inhale that up. Let that open up. Exhale. Inhale, bring it back together and back down. How's that? So let's move the block sort of more in front of our feet instead of between our feet. So reach for it. We're gonna get a little more lengthening in our back. You can use two if you want, one for each hand, or just have one in the center. All right, reach out our hands in, and if your shoulders crept up, let them fall away from your ears, and then we're gonna lift up with your heart. You're reaching out towards the wall across from you. Notice your face. See if you can settle it down if it's all tense. Breath in. Inhale as we sweep down and let your hands come down onto the blocks of the mat in front of your feet. So you'll feel a little more lengthening in the back. Just let those fingers be relaxed. You don't have too much pressure on there. No death grip on the blocks. Just let the pressure be in the finger pads. And press your armpits down towards the mat. Another cycle of breath. Just notice what's going on. And then inhale, we're going to bring our forearms to our thighs. And let yourself just hang here. Your chin is neutral. Your neck is in line with your spine. And then we're going to press into the forearms. And let that head and shoulder come up. And then we're going to reach out through our heart. Imagine like a cobra. So we're like a cobra snake. And it's our heart reaching out. And then go ahead and come on back up on an inhale, and then exhale, round that back. Push away from your thighs. Push your hands into your thighs and feel those shoulder blades opening up. Round that back, get all those vertebrae rounded. And back up. Let's get the blocks out of the way so when we stand, we don't trip over them. Always a bonus. We're just gonna get our legs in the picture here. So let's just take one and just circle it at the hip. If you've had a hip replacement, just march instead of doing that circling. We're just gonna circle and then go the other way. And let's get the other leg in there. And then let's kick both feet out. And your heels. Reach out through your heels, down into your sit bones, and lift up out of your hips. So you're pressing sort of out, down, and up. And then you can hold on to the chair for support if you want. And we're keeping our back straight and our legs straight. We're just going to hinge forward just an inch or so. And get that. So you're sideways, like a sideways letter V. So we're just lifting out through the crown of our head, pressing down to the tailbone, out to the heels. Really lengthening the back of the legs and the back. And let that come back up. Center. If you don't have any wrist issues, you don't have any carpal tunnel, and put a little pressure into the heels of your hands on the chair. And we're just going to lift our heart up to sort of taking a little bit of weight off your tailbone, off your sit bones with your hands. If there's any shoulder pain, don't do this. Just come back to regular seated. We're trying to lift up that heart. If you want to go a little extra step, let the pressure be in your heels, and you can lift your tailbone up off the chair. That's a nice opening of the chest and strengthening of the arms. They don't have to do it. You just reach your heart up. And then we're going to bend our knees. We're going to reach our arms out in a T. And the same way we exhale forward, we're going to wrap our arms under our thighs and give ourselves a big hug. So you're folding forward and wrapping your arms under your legs and squeezing the big hug. And then we're going to come back up. How's everybody doing? All right. I think we're warmed up enough to do a seated warrior. So there are actually 3 warriors. We'll do all 3 seated. The third one is quite challenging standing. I'll show you my version of it. But we'll do all 3, but there'll be adaptations. So the first one, I'm actually going to start with the third one while we're seated. I'll do the third one standing last. So the third one is a real strengthener, especially for the upper back. So we're going to come to the edge of our seat in that seated mountain. Take a cycle of breath and just notice what's going on. If there's any pain in your lower back, you may not want to do this. So just notice what's going on. We're going to drop our hands to the side, turn your palms out. Inhale, sweep your arms up. And have the index fingers pointing up. So really reach up and notice that your whole rib cage is lifting up, not just the front of your rib cage. We're not sort of leaning back, we're reaching up. Then we're going to hinge at the hips and sweep your fingers as though you're painting a line across the ceiling and then down the wall. And we're just pointing our fingers and get across that wall. We're not going down, we're keeping our back level to the floor, parallel to the floor. Reaching out through those index fingers. You feel that upper back sort of keeping you in this position, a little pressure into your feet and the upper back. So you can take a breath here. Then inhale, we'll come back up. And exhale that down. And feel strong in your backs. You can feel it in the shoulder blades. It's great for posture because it's strengthening the upper back and getting its back upright. And it's great if you're cold. It's like, if it's a cold morning, do a couple of those and you warm up right away. Let's do that one more time. Drop our hands on the side, palms out, inhale them up. Go ahead and interlace your fingers and reach up through those index fingers and then sweep them down in an exhale. And you're just reaching your fingers across from you. Your head is neutral, neck's in line with your back. And nice breath in and out here. And next breath in, go ahead and sweep it up. And exhale those arms down. Aren't you feeling strong? That always makes me feel strong. That was the third. Now we're going to go to the second. So scoot over to one side. Just scoot a little bit over on my chair to the right side, so that I've got my left sit bone on the chair and the right sit bone sort of not quite on the chair. You kick that right leg out to the side. If there's any hip pain, change that position of your foot to where there isn't any hip or lower back pain. If you notice like I'm doing, if you sort of lean over to one side, go ahead and get yourself even again. So you're even on your sit bone and your body is perpendicular to the floor. So we're gonna reach your arms out into a T and then turn. So your left hand is reaching over your left knee, and your right hand is reaching back. And notice if your arms are level or if there's one up here and one down here, so you can adjust it. If your body is leaning one way or the other, see if you can get it back to center. So let yourself just take a breath in and out here. And then we're gonna press down in those sit bones, press into your feet, and on an inhale, let that really reach out again. And you can tell how you can feel. And just stare out over those fingertips. Take a breath in and release it out. Go ahead and let that left elbow come down on the left knee, or whichever leg you have forward. And the right arm sweeps up. You can have a look at it if you're comfortable, if that's comfortable in your neck. If it's not, just look forward. And then sweep that arm over if that's comfortable. This is a good lengthener in the ribs and side body, and sweep that back up. Ooh, how's that? That felt good. So we're gonna scoot over to the other side. And do the same on the other side. So you're gonna kick your left leg out. And you're gonna get in that position where you're even on both sit bones. And your body is nice and straight. We're not leaning one way or the other way. And your right knee is straight in front of you and the left leg is off to the side. Now we're gonna bring our arms out into a T and let that turn so that right hand is right over. Right arm is reaching over the right knee. Left arm is reaching back. Get yourself nice and level and notice that you're pressing down into that right foot, down into the sit bones, and an inhale. So you can really, really reach out and up. Okay, just gaze over those right fingertips. Breath in and out. You go ahead and let that right elbow come down to the right knee. You sweep the left arm up. And you can have a look at it if that's comfortable on your neck. If not, just gaze forward. And then go ahead and, if it's comfortable, sweep that arm overhead. And reach down through that left heel, up through the left fingertips. And then we're gonna inhale and bring that back. Ooh. Check back and forth. So that was a variation on the second warrior. First warrior, we scoot over to the other side. All the warriors are about opposing forces, opposing stretches. We're lengthening up at the same time we're pressing down, or we're reaching out at the same time we're sort of lifting up. So it's or we're reaching out in a opposite direction. So it's really all about sort of opposing forces and finding that balance between them. So we're gonna come over to the right side of our chair, and if you have your block or a cushion, let that right knee sort of dangle off the chair. And you're just putting a cushion there for support. You don't want to put a lot of pressure in it. You just want it to be something that takes up the space between your knee and the floor when you're got this sort of right zip going off the chair. You want to make sure your hips are straight, so you didn't like fall too far down to one side, or you're not hoisted up. So you want to have that cushion support you where your hips are going to be straight. And see, the block makes my hip too high. I'm going to use a cushion. So you feel those pointy parts in front if they're across from each other, nice and straight. And if you can kick that knee back a little bit behind your shoulder, so you get a nice lengthening in the front of that thigh. So your left leg, your ankle's right under your knee's right out from your hip. So in that right one, your knee is sort of behind your hip. So sitting nice and even so we didn't fall one way or the other in the chair. And you can hold onto the chair for support. You can have a block, to have the other hand on to support. If you're comfortable, you can let the right hand go and sweep it up. You can hold on with the left, or if you feel comfortable letting go, you can let that hand come up and face the palms toward each other. So we're reaching down into our sit bone again, but up out of those hips. See if you can press your thumbs sort of back behind you, so your arms sort of reach back with your thumb. On the chest and down into that front. Reach your heart forward, lift up, and exhale your arms down. Everyone feel that in the front of the right thigh. It's a very hard spot to get lengthened. I think it's one of the most common. We all have different symptoms, but it's one of the most common that everybody has is these tight hip flexors. It's very hard to get those. We can stretch our quads, but you don't want to get this hip flexor. So that's a great one to get that lengthening there. When you're feeling all sort of scrunched up, that's a great stretch to get that hip flexor. So as we switch sides, just notice if you feel the difference between the two sides. The right one just feels so much better. The left one is waiting for that. So let's go ahead and scoot over to the left side of our chair and have a cushion or a block there. And then let that left knee come down. Again, you want to be nice and even with your hips so you're not sinking down. So your right ankle is directly under your right knee, and the left one is behind, your knee is sort of behind the hip. Get yourself nice and even and again, you can hold on if you want to the side of the chair for a little more support. Let that left hand come up. If you want both hands up, that's fine. Go ahead and have your palms facing each other. And see if you can stretch them back as you sort of reaching back with your arms but up with your ribs and forward with your heart and back with that left knee. So you should feel that lengthening in the upper where your hip attaches to your body. That's a great stretch for this. But also you're thinking about reaching up and pressing down at the same time. Those opposing stretches. Nice breath in here. Let it go. And let that arms come down. How was that? Now we'll stand and do some standing warriors. We're going to do our famous get out of the chair without using our hands. You get your ankles behind your knees. You'll be on the edge of your chair. And then we're going to Put our hands up as though we're going to do a breaststroke in swimming. So first you're going to nose over your toes, shift your weight on your feet, and then you're gonna do the breaststroking. There we go. You guys are great. Okay, let's put the chair in the front of the mat. It's got the back of it facing you. I'm just gonna get nice and close to the chair and have your feet about hip width apart, maybe a little more. And you know what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna do my empty coat sleeves or willow tree branches, I call them. Do that every time I stand. So you're gonna shift your weight from leg to leg. And then go ahead and let those arms be nice and floppy. And just let them go from side to side. You guys all have nice floppy arms. My son, who's 18 and into bodybuilding, he goes like this way. He can't get his arms loose. He's like really tense. So I'm working on him with that. You guys all have nice floppy arms. And let that go. Let's go ahead and bring our feet back to maybe hip width apart if you had separated them out. And we're just gonna bend our ankles and knees before we go for standing. We wanna get those ankles and knees warmed up. If you are, it looks like everyone's standing, there's no one seated, but a good exercise for your ankles, if you're seated, is you can use one of your blocks and just have your, as you're seated, you can have your foot up on it and just sort of go up and down with your toes. So you let the heel drop down and then point it up. Let's stretch that. This way by just going up and down and bending our ankles and knees and just noticing. You can shift your weight from one leg to the other. Because when I do that, I notice that my left leg is much tighter, ankle is much tighter than the right. Just something to notice. Because our bendy ankles are what help us with balance. So my left ankle is very bendy, I'm gonna stumble to that side. So if I'm aware of that, I'm gonna make sure so when I turn, I'm gonna turn more to the right than to the left. So next time you're down on those ankles, bent ankles and bent knees, go ahead and come back up and notice what muscles you use coming up. This time bend those knees and ankles. And to come up, we're going to push into the floor with our feet and then straighten our legs. And notice if there's a difference between, I usually just sort of bounce up when I'm, so it's like my upper body's bringing me up. But when I focus on that, pressing into the floor and pushing away, it brings all the muscles in my lower body are working more. So I don't know if I showed this to you before, but I'll do a quick demo. It helps me when I'm walking. Because I'll be walking, not thinking about it, and I'll be flailing all around and doing the Parkinson's walk. And if I stop and I focus on it's almost like I'm connecting the upper body to the lower body, and I bend my ankles and knees and I push away from the floor. It's like my walk can be so much more, at least a little more even and not quite so flaily. So it works. If you're walking and you're feeling like, you're flailing all over, it's just worth a try to stop and ground yourself. So let's go ahead and first we're going to lengthen our neck, then we'll do the first variation on that first warrior. So nice and close to your chair and have your hands on the chair for support. We're going to step one foot back. And the other goes to meet it. And then bend those ankles, let those heels come down. Push away from the chair, let your tailbone reach towards the back wall. Your head's coming down between your arms. If there's any lower back pain, you can bend your knees. You can walk, it's called a half dog. You can walk the dog by shifting your weight from one foot to the other and sort of letting that knee and heel bend. So you're sort of walking in place. And let that go and find that ooh spot, just where it is, but don't go there, don't stay there. Find out that ooh, and then come away from it to just ooh. And big inhale, exhale, settle into it. And then we're gonna step 1 foot forward. Come back up and inhale the other foot. We'll come up. How's that? Now we'll do a little strengthener. We're gonna bend those knees, ankles and knees. Reach your tailbone out as though there's a chair behind you. Oops, no chair. You don't have to hold yourself up with your legs. So you can hold on to the chair if you want. Or we can let one arm come up. You're gonna challenge yourself and have the other arm come up. Reaching up to those fingertips. Letting your quads hold you up here. Inhale, you're gonna push away from the floor. Go all the way up until you squeeze your glutes and then let that right hand come down. Slide down your right thigh as the left hand reaches up and over. And then bring that back. Let's go ahead and bend those ankles and knees again. Tailbone reaches out. Chair is still not there. Let's go ahead and reach one arm up. And the other one. So this is sort of a balance and strengthening pose together. Just going to push away from the floor, come on up. Let that left hand slide down the left thigh. Right arm reaches up and over. And bring that back. So on this first warrior, you can use the chair for support, you can use the wall for support. Let's step back a little closer to the wall. I know you probably can't see me as well, but I'm just going to demo the one. So the first warrior, remember we were seated, that was the one where we folded forward with the index fingers pointing out. So what we can do that on, typically it's done on one leg. We'll do it first on both legs. I'll do it sideways so you can see. We're going to do it on both legs first. So we're going to use your blocks in the chair if that's helpful. You might be able to support your forehead that way. So you have your hands on the chair. And we're going to just lift up and just fold. You're just hinging at the hips, coming forward. You can put your head on the blocks if that gives you a nice line. If you don't want to bend forward, so if you can bring your blocks up enough, or you have cushions where your back is parallel to the floor. And then we're going to reach those arms out and index fingers pointing towards the wall. And then we're going to inhale that back up. And come on now. So that one's even more challenging when you add the one leg to it. So you usually shift your weight over to one leg. And then you fold forward. This is where I like to use the wall. So you can use the wall, either way you can use the wall sideways and square there, or you can use it behind you and you put your foot on the wall. So you can hinge forward, use the chair. Turn it away. So you have one leg. You can see how this one is a little more challenging. So you can hold yourself at the wall and you can have one arm come out. You can also do it against the wall. I don't know if I have enough room on this wall. So you can hinge forward. I have a counter here, so I'm gonna you can hold on to the counter and then press one leg back. So there's different ways of doing it. You can also do it on your knees. I think just the standing ones that we've done are fine. That's a challenging one. So I'm going to skip right over to Warrior 2. So this one you're going to turn sideways on your mat. And step your feet sort of shoulder width apart or more. Let me show you that one. So you're the long way on your mat. Use the chair for support. So your feet are toes both pointing forward. So your shoulders are over your hips. Hips are over your big toes. And you're gonna take the foot closest to the chair. This is my right foot, and you're gonna pivot it so the toes are pointing under the chair. When you did that, see when I did that, I sort of leaned. I want to get back up into nice and straight. Then I'm gonna bend that front knee. And it's important on this one that you notice where your ankle is. Don't let your knee come forward of your ankle. So I'm going to step back a little so you can see. When you do that bend, you don't want that. See how my knee's in front of my ankle? You want that. So your ankle's right below your knee. Because you don't want to torque the knee. So you're going to take a few moments to notice that where you are in that position. You can use the wall if you have a wall behind you or next to you, and then it's just up and down and bend that knee and come up and down and get so you're comfortable. So we're not going forward so much, we're going down. And you can use the chair actually for support for your knee too. So notice that your hips are both pointing forward and they're sort of level. And now we're going to reach our hands out into the T. And you're going to press into the floor with your feet lift up out of those hips. Reach out through your fingertips and go ahead and let go of those right fingertips. And notice if you're nice and level, you can hold on with whatever hand if you've got a wall behind you or the chair in front of you. Go ahead and notice if you're nice and straight, because we don't want to reach too forward into the future or don't want to dwell in the past. We're going to be right here in the present while we're aware of what's going on. Those are the opposing stretches to the side. Then the opposing stretches up and down, you're pressing into the floor while you're lifting up out of your hips. So you're sort of lifting and pressing at the same time while reaching both directions at the same time. You go ahead and sort of settle on this a little bit. Then inhale, go ahead and really lift and reach and then drop that hand down to the front of the back of the chair or the seat of the chair, and then the left one comes up and overhead. So you have a nice straight line from your left ankle up to your left pinky finger. So we're not really going over so much as pick a nice straight line. You feel that lengthening all the way from your hip up through your ribs. And bring that back down. That's a big stretch. We're going to go right to the warrior one, and then we're going to do the other side for both of them. So just turn, you're going to turn and face your chair. And you're going to step one foot back. I'm going to step my left foot back. My right one is forward. I'm going to bend that right knee. Again, you want the ankle over the knee so it's not. So this one you can turn that back foot a little bit. You can angle it out. What we're trying to do here is face forward, facing over your chair. And your hips are not turned to the side. This time your hips are facing forward. So if you have to bring that back foot forward a little bit, you don't need a wide stance here. Just want a little bit of a step between your feet. You need to hold on with one hand or both hands. You want to bring one hand up. If you're feeling comfortable, bring the other one up. So we're going to press into the feet, lift up out of the hips, and reach up through the fingertips. And your palms are facing each other, and you can reach those thumbs back a little bit. And you notice you definitely have to work on balance on this one. So go ahead and really lift up And exhale, let your arms come down and get your feet back. Oh, that's a good one. How's everybody feeling? Let's do some of the empty coat sleeves to make sure our back stays nice and loose. Let that come to stillness and just take a breath in and out. Just send it through your body and notice what's going on. I'm going to switch to the other side and turn my chair. So I don't want my back to, so I'm just going to turn my chair. So we're going to step our feet wide again. And this way, you just have you turn your left foot so your toes are pointing under the chair, where the right foot, it's staying parallel to the mat. And then I think I should move back so you can see my feet. All right, let's get this right here. Little mat situating here. Okay. The left toes are pointing under the chair, and the right foot is parallel to the front of the mat. So your feet are actually perpendicular to each other. Go ahead and bend that left knee. Make sure of its position over the ankle, and you can let it sort of rest on the back of the chair. Notice that your hips are right under your shoulders. You can hold on to the chair for support if you want. You have the wall behind you, or you can reach out one hand, both hands into that T, and then go ahead and look over those left fingertips. Notice that your body is straight, not leaning too forward or back. If you feel yourself going forward, use that back arm to sort of pull yourself back. We're strong and warriors that can take on anything that life is going to deal us. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears if they crept up. And then go ahead and let that left hand drop down onto the chair and the right one sweeps up. And imagine a nice straight line from that right ankle up through the right index finger. And then sweep that arm back down. And step your feet together. And a few more empty coat sleeves. And the last one. We are going to be so strong. Turn to face your chair and let that. And so I'm going to step my right foot back. So the left foot is facing under the chair. The right foot is maybe a little angled out. Maybe 30 degrees. My toes are pointing out a little bit. I want my hips to face forward where the chair is. Shoulders are over hips. Bend that front knee. I'm going to rest against the chair. And I'm going to bring one hand up. And then the other one. And we're reaching up to the fingertips. Down through the feet, up out of those hips. One of those thumbs sort of reach back a little bit. Nice breath in and out, and then exhale those arms down and come out of that. That was wonderful. I hope everybody's feeling taller. Let's go ahead and come back into our chair for a little relaxation. Do a little cooling down. So you can take your blocks and put them, and just have your feet come up on them. Just notice that if that gives you a little stretch in your hip, And then we're gonna come off the block and you're gonna stack them between your feet, but the closer you are to your chair, the more stretch you'll get, and the further away, the easier the stretch will be. And the higher up your blocks or cushions are, the more stretch you'll get on this one. So we're just gonna, you can do 1 foot at a time if you want. You're gonna take the side of your foot and rest on the block so your knee is flopping open. And you can, if that's more comfortable doing 1 foot at a time, that's fine. If you want to try both, then you want to put the soles of your feet together so both outside edges of your feet are on the blocks. Let those knees flop open. And you can hold on to the side of your chair for this one because you don't want to lean forward without holding on. This one you can face plant. You don't want to do that. You're going to do face yoga, not face plants. Lift up. And you want to hold on to the edge of your chair and lean forward just a little bit, hinging at the hips. You'll get a little more stretch in there. The inner thighs are another spot with common with Parkinson's, and it actually hinders your sleep. We got enough hindering our sleep, so stretch out those inner thighs. And then come back up. Put a little pressure into them. Like resist with your thighs. You press down, but resist with your thighs. So press into your hands with your legs and legs in your hands. And then let that go and notice if that helped them go a little further. Go ahead and come off that. And set your blocks aside and let's just do a little with our face. You can lean back and relax a little. And just go ahead and notice what's going on in your face. Do a blink, couple blinks, and then do a squeeze your eyes, and then let them just relax and settle. Imagine your eyebrows are separating from each other. Go ahead and roll your tongue if you can. I know that's a genetic thing. You can flop it. You can some popping. Let me get my glasses. I'm just getting my glasses to read you one of my favorite quotes that we'll end this with. And wiggle your jaw, you can tap on it. Do some puppy cheeks. And then let your eyes drift closed and notice what just let the eyeballs sink down into the sockets. Imagine your cheeks are soft and the roof of your mouth is broadening. This is one of my favorite quotes. And it just is so appropriate for this epidemic we're going through. I liked it even before that. Strange is our situation here upon earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we are here for the sake of each other. Above all, for those upon whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends. And also for the countless unknown souls with whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy. I didn't write that, that was what I said. So let's go ahead and wiggle our fingers and toes and scrunch up our nose. We'll come back up into seated upright if you were leaning back in. Let's just do one horse's breath before we are all done. So a nice inhale and that would be a fun one to unmute and hear everybody. Let's go ahead and drop our hands on the side. Turn your palms out, sweep them out. Take some of that sun's energy where you're down into our hearts. Get sunshine upon us, love surround us, and peace fill us. Namaste. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for such a great class. Thank you, Renee.
Anybody have any questions or thoughts or? Is everybody feeling taller?